Hey there. Welcome back to the Velvet Machete Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Hurdle. I think the announcement just said that, but I'm going to say it a second time, just in case you fast forwarded through that part. I'm so grateful that you're with me today. I know you have lots of choices in how you pursue your personal and your professional development, and it's a genuine honor for you to spend your time with me. So today we're going to talk about a key concept in the Velvet Machete leadership world, if you will, and that is the concept of bubble wrap. But before we do that, I always like to give a shout out to a podcast listener or a YouTube follower. And so let me pull that up real quick and give a shout out to this is JCATZG. JCATZG. This is an Apple podcast. And so this person says, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and the thing I like about Amber is how down to earth, real, and relatable she is. Thank you. The advice is simple and easy to do, like the Priority Planner episode was so straightforward. Okay, so you might want to go back into the archives of the Bombshell Business podcast and find that episode. We'll put that in the show notes. So thank you for that feedback. That is what we absolutely strive to do. And if you did notice that we've missed a couple episodes, it's because I recorded some with some guests and they just really they didn't meet what I know your expectation is of this show, and that straightforwardness and that really applicable advice just wasn't present. And so I didn't want to go off brand. And I certainly, and why do we worry about branding and why do we worry about going off brand is because we're breaking the brand promise. And my brand promise to you is that actionable advice. So just want to kind of give that like after school special lesson. And I do apologize for missing you guys, but if you've been with me for the past couple of years of podcasting, I'm really protective of you, and I know that my time is limited. Therefore, I'm not going to waste your time if it doesn't do something for you. Also, before we get started, I do cherish your rating and reviews. And as we revive the podcast and kind of get things back in full swing, and the downloads are amazing. I'm so grateful that y'all are just coming along for the ride and new listeners are coming in. Please, please, please do go to wherever it is that you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review. And if you're on YouTube, then just click the bell. That will give you an alert every time we publish. And then, of course, subscribe on YouTube as well. The thing is like artificial intelligence is telling people what they should listen to and what they should watch. And so I'm really just asking for your actual human opinion to kick artificial intelligence's butt. Okay. So that's what we want to do. One other quick announcement. Now that we've got some housekeeping out of the way, I just want to let you know that the Invincible Woman Leadership Retreat is coming up April 22nd through the 25th. So this is located in San Destin, Florida, in the brand spankin new Hotel Effie. I was just there last week and did another final like walkthrough, and then also had dinner there with some friends, and it was just fabulous, y'all. The views, oh my gosh. Hopefully I could put a little video together. We'll put that in the show notes as well, or maybe we'll put it on the end of the YouTube version of this podcast episode. I definitely took some pictures and videos. It's amazing. Anyways, besides the backdrop, really what this is about is for you to invest in yourself. We've had our butts handed to us in the past year. And I know that my Velvet Machete Leadership Society members were just really asking for something like this, where we can come together belly to belly, 6 feet belly to belly. We do have COVID precautions. We have a room that's far bigger than the cap at 30 that we're going to have, so that we can keep things socially distanced if that's a concern of yours. Obviously it's a concern of everybody's, but I know some people are a little more sensitive to it than others. So we'll make sure that we're taking temperatures every day, and that we're doing all that we can to keep a safe environment for you. But people are wore out. They're crispy burnt. And so the key thing here is we want you, me and my partner in this, Debbie Vega. Sometimes she's Deborah, sometimes she's Deb, sometimes she's Debbie. So we're going to call her Debbie. Okay. Debbie Vega and I are united on this. She's amazing. I'm really going to help you with digging into your personal identity, really beyond your personal brand. And how are you going to harness and direct that so that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish in life? So you can stand grounded no matter what happens, even global pandemics. Debbie's going to take you through to measure. So you've got an assessment with me, a personal branding assessment, and you have an assessment with Debbie, and it's really measuring your leadership energy, and she'll walk you through the process of how to manage that. And she's got this whole cool system. I won't get into it because I could talk about it for days, but it's something that I use every day. And I've coached Deb's coached me. I trust her implicitly, and it's really going to be extraordinary. And so we're going to talk about mindfulness. We're going to talk about breaking up your limiting beliefs, really being able to walk away from this retreat feeling very grounded, rested, and able to just move through the rest of the year and kick butt and take names like we do, right? I mean, we are velvet machete leaders. And the thing is, when we cap it at 30, so far it is full of bad mama jamma women. Okay. So humble women, they're not like arrogant or anything, but there's some pretty fierce women in there. So if you want to be around people that you want to elevate to, this is where to go. If you want to be around people who are like you, because they're not, you know how I say this, and if you've been in a sorority, I don't mean it like that, but like, you shouldn't be 40 years old and still acting like a sorority girl. Okay. If you are, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, but if you're like, ugh, women's retreat, that sounds like something I don't want to be a part of. I'm telling you, these women are the jam. Okay. They do their work. They get up when they get knocked down. And that's really the definition of invincible, is like getting back up and doing it again. So it doesn't mean that nothing bad ever happens or that you're bulletproof. It just means that when you get kicked in the teeth, you just wipe your mouth and you keep on going. So we would love for you to be there. We'll put the link in the show notes to that, or you can email us at info@amberhurl.com and we will send you the deets. It's really, really affordable and includes all of your room nights. And your room nights actually include like bike rentals and kayak rentals and all kinds of crazy stuff. Lots of meals are included. It's going to be fabulous. You should go. Okay, so let's dig in today. You're like, bubble wrap, Amber, what are you talking about? Why do you always come up with these weird concepts? You know, Amber has a language. Okay, I just talked about myself in third person. That was weird. We have a language. So this has always not kind of been, this has always been a thing for me, because when I finally was diagnosed as an adult with ADD, now they call it ADHD, attention, something else. I don't remember. But in my day, it was called ADD. So I don't have the hyperactivity. I just have a really wild imagination, which works out really well in my career. And also, I'm very distractible. I forget things easily in short amounts of time, like elephant memory for long-term memory, very limited short-term memory. Um, it's like having the radio station on the line of two different stations most of the time. And so if I don't have something distracting me, it's hard for me to pay attention, because I have this other part of my brain that's going to be like, boop, 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 looking for something to keep its attention. So it could be a challenge, right? And so I learned that if I want to live successfully with ADD in a non-ADD world, I better figure it out. Like, I better figure it out fast. And so I had an ADD coach. This was in my 20s. And what I learned through studying ADD is that it's really a superpower. So a few things, because I know a lot of my listeners have this, a lot of my members have this in the Velvet Machete Leadership Society. Um, the thing about ADD or ADHD is oftentimes we have a higher IQ, and so that's something to celebrate, right? And it also, we have this superpower called hyperfocus. And so while we are distractible most of the time, when something really grabs our attention, we can focus in such an intense way that like literally hours can pass by. So having ADD is, quote, a disability, but to me, it's not, because I consider it a superpower. So I'm telling you this story because I want you to understand that however you were designed is how you were designed. There's nothing weak about you. There's nothing broken about you. So, people are like, oh, Amber, you're a strengths-based leader or a strengths-based leadership coach. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, if you have strengths and weaknesses even being considered. I don't really consider weaknesses. Like, that's not even on the table. There's no contrast there. Like, you have strengths. And then maybe you have some things that are a little less helpful about your personality in certain situations. So it isn't very helpful when I have to pay strict attention to something that I have ADD, but it is insanely helpful when I'm creating something that my ADD brings me hyper focus. So do you see what I mean there? I am not broken. I am not weak. Tell me I'm weak, I will punch you in the throat. Okay. Not really. Maybe. Okay. So as we're thinking about this, there is a quote that is attributed to Albert Einstein. There's discussion whether it was from him or a myriad of people, but it's, everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is stupid. Okay. We are each uniquely designed to do certain things. We are born with particular gifts, with particular ways of viewing the world. Y'all know I'm the queen of assessments. So I have 3 that I use, plus I use astrology. I look at natal reports, not because I think you could predict the future, not to say that I think you're weird if you think that's the truth, but I honestly just believe that's God's first personality assessment. And it's insanely accurate. So I use these tools to help people see that this is how you were designed. It's okay. It's good. So let's look at what you've got to work with, and then let's really lean into that. And then instead of trying to fix weaknesses, let's just bubble wrap it. Yes, bubble wrap it. So here's what I want you to think about. Think about sitting at a table with fine china, passed down for generations. Maybe it was your great great grandmother's, and it's the china that your mom wouldn't even let you set the table because she was so afraid that you would break it. It is treasured. It is priceless china. Okay. On the table, serving its purpose of containing your food, it does its job. It's beautiful. It's valuable. It's Everybody's looking at it, everybody's appreciating it. That's its highest and best use. Okay. Just like you have things that make you extraordinarily valuable. Okay. Now, if you're going to ship that china across the country when you move, or because you pass it down to a different generation, it's going to break. It is not meant to get thrown into a box and shipped across the country, right? That's not what it was designed to do. And so, what do we do when we ship fine china? Just bubble wrap it. We bubble wrap that son of a gun, right? We make sure that it is protected. So when it's taken out of its practical use and it's put in a less helpful situation, it doesn't break. Okay. So that's what I want you to do with your areas of your personality, or the areas that maybe you just don't shine in because they are less helpful to the areas of work or life that you're trying to navigate. So when you step outside of what you were designed to do, we need to look at that environment and we need to decide, okay, how can I bubble wrap this? And I want to make it clear that just because something is not the most useful part of your personality or the most useful part of your gifts, it's not like, oh, well, then I don't have to do that because Amber says that's not how I show up in the world. Okay. I'm saying that it's incumbent upon you to bubble wrap it. I bubble wrapped my ADD. I still bubble wrap my ADD. I don't get it right every time, but I do my very best. Okay. And so, for example, I don't love math. Okay. I don't love having to have the attention span to like pay bills and do my budget and all that kind of stuff. So I have bubble wrap. Bubble wrap for me, when it comes to my business finances, is I have an accountant. Shout out to my team at Miles Atnip in Brentwood, Tennessee. So I have my accountant. So Michael's my accountant, and I have Mel, who I have for uh, payroll, if I could spit that out. And then I've got somebody for my bookkeeping as well. Okay. So I have all three of those people who do that stuff behind the scenes that would take me 3 times as long to do it. A, because I hate it. And B, because I don't really, my brain just doesn't work that way. That's not to say that they don't educate me, that I know exactly I know. I pay 7 taxes. I know that I also pay payroll, federal payroll tax. I know I pay state payroll tax, and I know I pay insurance or whatever when people get hurt or they get laid off. See, this is not my world. This is why I have bubble wrap. This is why I have Miles Atnip handling that. And on top of that, I also have Audrey, who is my budget coach. And so she sits down with me once a month, and it's my obligation. So I have this accountability in place for me to categorize all of my expenses and to forecast the next month, both what I will earn and what I'm going to anticipate in paying. And then if anything's wonky or off, then I have somebody that I address why I didn't know that was coming or why I chose to spend that and I didn't anticipate to spend that. And it's not that she's going to whip me with a wet noodle. It's a check-in. It is a piece of bubble wrap so that I just don't go willy-nilly through the month, not paying attention, Miss ADD, don't love math, don't love anything that has to do with that kind of things. I just want to help people. I just want you to know how amazingly awesome you are. Okay. All I want to do is help you define and position your value, but I got to do all these other things behind the scenes. But by having her meet with me, I'm held accountable not to her, but to myself. And if my business behind the scenes is all jacked up, then I'm not going to be able to do what I can do for you in front in the main scene, right? And I won't be successful as a business owner. And how dare I talk about leadership if I can't lead myself first? Okay. So that is an example of bubble wrap. So when you think about the different types of environments that you encounter, and we cover all of these and strategies in my Velvet Machete Leadership Academy, which we won't be doing until I think August this year. If you wanted to get on the wait list, you could go to velvetmachete.leadership.com / or just go there and then look for the Academy, click on Academy. We'll put it in the show notes too. But we go through all of this and we really break this down. But for the purpose of a podcast, I just want you to identify in your world, what is it about these areas that might need some bubble wrap for you? So let's talk about first your workplace culture. So whether you are a senior leader or you are somebody that might manage a team of 2, or maybe you're just managing yourself, that culture, those family rules of how we do business, your mission, your vision, your values, your operational service standards, those are your purpose statement sometimes, or that's in some people's culture. Your employee promise sometimes is in some cultures, depending on how fleshed out they are. When you look at that, that's a place where you can learn to bubble wrap. Okay. So maybe there's some areas of your culture that are not as helpful right now as they could be. Maybe you don't have the same access to resources as maybe one of your competitors. Maybe you're a smaller shop than somebody down the street that might be able to pay a little bit more. Well, how can you bubble wrap that? What do you need to put in place to ensure that you compensate for that area that's less than helpful? Okay. When you're put in a situation that you weren't designed for, I'm a small business. I was not designed to offer all of these perks and benefits that a very large organization can. So that doesn't mean that I don't have to create a great culture. It just means I have to use a little more bubble wrap. I have to get a little more creative. Okay. Another area This is huge. Oh my gosh, this is huge. And this is an area where when we get into this section of the academy, I do a lot of laser coaching during office hours because people are like, "Rah, what do you do to XYZ? Like manage your inbox or, manage your digital files or, how do you do this?" And I have systems for everything. Again, because I have ADD. It's not because I'm just like super organized. It's because I've put so much friggin' bubble wrap in my life that people think I'm super organized, which I guess in the end I am, but it's because I would fall apart if I didn't have these things in my life. Okay. It's like oxygen. I can't not use these systems or nothing would work. So when you're looking at your physical and your digital work environment, like look around you. Are you trying to file every little piece of paper in a filing cabinet and everything is real tight? And then you forget that that piece of paper is in there. And so you don't know where that bill went and like what file you put it in. If that's you, you need some bubble wrap, okay? You might be more of the person who needs colored bins. And when a bill comes in, you just throw it in the green bin because green means money. And if it has to do with money, it's going to be in that green bin. Now, it might take you a few extra minutes than maybe super sassy organized person who has everything alphabetically organized in their super succinct filing cabinet that completely has all the same colors and it's like they've got the typed labels on everything. That works for that person, okay? But you might not be that person and you might need to have a little more bubble wrap around that area. So do you, okay? Your systems and processes, this is something that needs to be revisited in your business, whether you own your business or your business unit, if you're a leader in an organization. Processes need to be updated because things shift. Just think about the last year, how we do meetings. Ain't nobody in a room together anymore. We're all on Zoom. Okay. So now we're like, oh, snap, we have Zoom protocol. Do you keep your cameras on or do you turn them off? Do we provide your internet stipend or are we just all kind of winging it together? Like, how are we going to make sure everybody has laptops? Like, where's everybody? Are we going to shut down our offices? So much changed in the past year that a lot of bubble wrap was used and people didn't even understand it. Okay. So it's like, this is not the perfect situation. And so, how can we apply some strategy to this in order to update our systems and our processes? Ultimately, just to create really healthy, strong environments is the second step. Once you, in the Development Machete leadership journey, the first step on the journey, the first pillar is being able to build a very strong personal brand. That self-awareness allows you to say, okay, now that I know me, now that I know how I operate, now that I know the distinct value that I offer, how do I build all these environments around me to support that, to support my personal brand promise? And then if this environment it puts me in a position where I'm a fine piece of china getting shipped across the country, then I'm going to put some bubble wrap around it. Okay. So we have your workplace culture, we have your physical and your digital work environment, your systems and processes, just how you do work, how you show up, and then your people environments, AKA your network. Okay. Examples. I don't know how to do a lot of handiwork, okay, and that's just not my spiritual gift. And so I have people in my network that I can call and can do those things for me. My team, as you build out your team, um, Shantae and Jean are, I'm not really into the nitty gritty details. Not that I can't do detail, I can, but that's not my go-to. That's not the highest and best use of me. I'm a little more big picture. I'm kind of visionary, like here's the big plan, here's the idea. Let's break a few rules along the way. And then Shantae and Jean are kind of behind the scenes, making sure that we get it from 80% all the way to that 100% mark so that no balls get dropped. That enables me to deliver on my brand promise, because if it was up to me, I would probably drop a lot of balls, not because I wanted to or because I suck or I don't care about customers or anything like that, but because that's the way that I operate at my highest is this way. And so I bubble wrap my business with positions and I evaluate the personalities. I use people data. We use my psychoanalytic tools. And I'm like, okay, What complements how I show up best? Okay, cool. Shantae shows up best this way. Jean shows up best that way. When we put all of us together, we have a whole picture here that works and that delivers to our customers. Okay. So, Jean is going to be handling this podcast because yes, I can do all of this part, but if you want me to be editing video, we're going to be here all night. It ain't going to happen. Okay. So, they're very conscientious. So think about that too, your people environment. So, maybe you need somebody who has a lot of joy in their life. Maybe you need somebody who can teach you a certain skill. Maybe you need a mentor. These are ways that you could bubble wrap your life with people. And you're probably serving as bubble wrap to other people as well. And then last, but certainly not least, are your private environments. And so that includes your spiritual environment, your mental environment, your health environment, and your physical environment. So when I say that, I don't want you to think like, oh well, I don't do religion. Okay, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about your spiritual life, like the essence of who you are, your inner knowing, your highest self, whether you're religious or not, whether you have the vehicle of religion to live out your spirituality or not, you have a spiritual life. Okay. So that private environment needs to be nurtured. And sometimes we need bubble wrap in that too, especially this past year. I mean, who's amped up their meditation this past year? Girlfriend has. I turned into freaking Forrest Gump. In my physical environment, my physical health, my health and physical vitality, if you will, I started walking a ton just to clear my brain and to process, because not only was I going through all of this, but I was coaching people who were having to let people go and were dealing with like the government side of things. And so I was carrying my load and also processing the loads of the people that I was supporting, whether they were businesses or individuals. And so the bubble wrap of walking helped me protect that, to protect the parts of me that are my highest and best use that might have just been getting a little worn down at times. So be thinking about that. Your mental health. Holy cow, did we learn about that? If you did your work this last year, and if you didn't, you really missed out on an opportunity. So get caught up. The world got really quiet. We got shut in our houses. We weren't even allowed to leave. All we had was to sit with ourselves. We got a pretty good, big, and clear picture on our mental health. Now, you might have been somebody who watched the Tiger Show or whatever that was called, or maybe you were somebody who chose to take that opportunity to become introspective. But what did you learn through that? What did you learn about yourself? Because I guarantee you learned like, when I do this, I feel better. When I do this, I'm more hopeful. When I do this, when I don't change my clothes and I eat Oreos every day and I watch the Tiger Show nonstop for 2 days, that's probably not helping me. Okay. So those mental environments need to be fortified with the areas that do work and the areas that maybe you're conditioned to slip in. The less than helpful areas you might want to bubble wrap. I've been perfectly honest about this before. I've even showed in the past, I don't know, on video or podcast or something. Maybe it was in a group or a challenge or a Facebook group. I don't know, but I've shared products that I use. I'm a California girl. Okay. I know I have a Southern accent because I moved here in high school, but I was raised in California. My inner temperature is Newport Beach, 15th Street. Okay. So I do struggle a lot in the wintertime. I'm also a water baby, so I can't get in my pool and it's like freezing cold to just get out into the hot tub. And so I take a lot of bubble baths. I have UV lights that put whatever the rays that you typically get in the sun. I take extra vitamin D. I do more yoga. I do things that are more calming. I used to actually have like a sunrise alarm clock that it gradually got brighter and brighter, just like the sunrise, since, things are so dark during the winter in the morning time, and it even like chirp birds and things like that. And I think I finally ditched that. But there are things that I did throughout the winter, or I do throughout the winter, to bubble wrap my seasonal depression. And so that's the kind of stuff that I want you to think about. So there are some examples for you. I hope they were helpful. When you get to something where you're like, "Ugh, I don't want to do that," or, "Oh, I suck at that," don't tell yourself that. Don't speak that into the world. Okay. Stop yourself and be like, you don't suck at that. You're just not designed to desire that. You're not designed to be great at that. You're designed to be great at all these other things. Okay, so since this isn't my highest and best use, how can I bubble wrap this? Okay, how can I do something differently? Recruit a tool, recruit a resource, recruit a person so that I can do this and not get stuck or not mess it up. Okay. So no more I have weaknesses, only just bubble wrap it moving forward. Okay. Are we agreed? I want you to email me info@amberhurdle.com and tell me what you plan to bubble wrap first. I love hearing from you. This is I know this is me and the mic, but this is a two-way conversation. Or if you're watching it on YouTube, put it in the comments and let me know, what are you going to bubble wrap? So that's where I'm going to end things right now. I don't want to belabor the point. You can find out more about anything that I've talked about on the show in the show notes at amberhurdle.com/podcasts with an S, podcast with an S, amberhurdle.com/podcasts with an S. And all the links that we've talked about today, any resource that I've talked about will be in the show notes. And of course, you can find out more about the Invincible Woman Leadership Retreat in San Destin, Florida at Hotel Effie. Check out Hotel Effie. Also, we'll put that in the show notes. You will die. Oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. It is so opulent, but it's still like an approachable luxury, which is what if you've been around me at all, that's sort of my favorite and the type of clientele that I typically attract. So be sure that you subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening in on your favorite podcast app. It really does help things. It helps more people discover this, which makes you help more people through the show. And whether you listen or you watch, I do appreciate you being with me, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in. Mentioned resources can be found at amberhurdle.com. Be sure to leave a rating and review in your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you never miss an update. As always, thank you to The Coup for our intro and outro music. See you next time.